Hi, everyone. My name is Julia,
And I'm Katie.
and we're the hosts of the Runways and Byways travel podcast. Today, we have a bit of a different type of episode for you. We're going to be talking about our craziest travel stories, and we've been wanting to talk about this for a really long time. We've just been waiting on it, I guess, and now feels like the right time. So, Katie, anything to say about that?
Not really much else to add. I'm really excited because I feel like I haven't really shared these stories with too many people, but every time I do, they're like, "What? Like, how are you not dead?" So I'm excited.
Yeah, we have some pretty crazy stories. I think we're planning on telling you about four stories, and three of them Katie and I were together for. And the last one that we're going to share with you is really crazy. So stick around if you want to hear that one. The first three are pretty crazy, but the last one just, you will not believe it.
Yes.
So, I can't even believe it happened. Like, it just doesn't even make any sense.
Every time I look back on it, I'm like, God was with us that day.
That,
There's no other way.
I feel like that just doesn't happen to people. I don't know.
Yeah.
People that live to tell the tale, at least. I don't know.
If somebody had told me that day that that happened to us, I would have slapped them.
I know.
I
I'd
can't
be
believe it.
like, yeah, and I didn't believe it that that would happen either because it really just seemed like that day was going to line up so well, and then just everything crashed and burned, and I don't even know how we're here telling you this story.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Looking back, I'm glad it happened because it's funny. But like what?
me too. But
In
yeah,
the moment,
we'll
yeah.
in the moment it was really bad.
Yeah, that was a rough day.
Yeah, like the whole day was rough.
Yeah. Wait, it had like three good moments, but like the rest was just like really bad.
Yeah, so we're excited.
Yeah, we'll get into that. That'll be the last story we share with you. We're saving the best for last.
Yes.
But Katie, I think it's your week for the trivia question.
Yes. So this is kind of random, but I just thought it was interesting. So I'm going to share it. So
Okay.
my question this week is the United Kingdom was the first country on which the US formally declared war. What was the second?
Oh. Oh, I don't like this question. I'm like
Yeah.
trying to because
It's a little bit of history.
I feel like I probably learned this in school, right? Do you
Yeah.
remember? Can you learned it?
I did, but I would not have said the right answer. Oh,
Okay.
that's my hint for you.
I have a guess, I do, but
Okay.
I'm not gonna say it.
Okay.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm not gonna let you know right now
Okay.
because I don't want to say it and feel stupid, and then at the end, like I'm completely wrong. So yeah,
I
I'm
feel
just
like you
gonna.
might be right.
Should I just tell you what my guess is?
No, because
No.
I don't want my face to give it away.
Okay.
Like, let's just do it at the end, and then I could just say yes or no.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Plus, that'll
Yeah.
give me some time to think and be more solid in my
Good.
decision, even though I'm not going to be thinking about it because I'm going to be thinking about our crazy stories.
I was gonna say every
Yeah,
week we're like, okay, just think about it, and then I always forget that we even have a trivia question until the very end.
I know. And at the end, I'm like, oh, wait, we do that.
Yeah. Right?
Oh, well.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah, I'll
so
honestly probably just wind up saying my potentially dumb answer, but I don't know. I feel somewhat okay about it.
I feel like
We'll
if you
see.
feel somewhat okay, it's probably right.
Yeah, I don't know. I know.
Mm.
Mm, yeah, I'm not even going to try to defend myself right now.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just focus on our crazy travel stories, and then I'll give you my reasoning later.
Okay.
All right, so do we want to start off with our Hawaii story first?
Yes, I do.
Okay. How do we want to start this? Is there anything you want to say or?
Well, I guess we should just kind of jump into Hawaii and what that whole experience was like because we've never really talked about it.
Yeah, we should have a whole podcast on Hawaii, and I definitely don't want to
Yeah.
get into the whole experience here. We're only going to really talk about like two major things that happened to us there that were like really weird. But
Yeah.
I think we definitely need to have a whole podcast on Hawaii and how we planned it and what we did and
Yes.
the mistakes we made, the things you should learn from our trip.
Yes.
Because it was not a perfect trip by any means. And I think a lot of the issue with the trip is because we went as soon as Hawaii opened up from COVID.
Mm.
So I think that was a big issue. And because when I went to Hawaii with my family, it was not the way it was when we went, which we'll go into more of that when we talk about Hawaii in our Hawaii episode. But we do have two scenarios we want to talk about that are really not very specific to Hawaii. They're just weird things that happened to us there.
Hmm.
So I know the first one really gets you, Katie.
Yes. Every time I think about it, I get more and more angry.
I feel like for me, like it kind of annoyed me, but for you, it just you were full of rage that
I
day.
was spiraling. And I think honestly, people who hear it, you probably will have like either one of our reactions. Either like it's kind of like, okay, funny, or it's like, you should be stewing the
Okay,
should I just
suing
like
is
get
really
into it?
dramatic, but
I
also
would sue.
I think like I could see. Okay, we'll see. We'll discuss why. We'll discuss this after we. Yeah,
Yes.
let's get into it first. But
Okay.
I could see why you could maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
So what happened was, I guess I'll start telling it because I'm the one that actually handled the situation, and then you could maybe
Handle.
discuss quote unquote, and then you could discuss the aftermath because the
Yes.
aftermath is kind of where you come in.
Yes.
So we were, I don't know what we did this day. We were in Hawaii, we were on Oahu in Honolulu, and we were in our hotel just before bed. What was it like? I mean, had already gone to bed. I was still awake. So I think it was like 11 o'clock at night, right?
Yeah, it was either 11 o'clock, like midnight around that time.
Yeah, it was pretty late at night. I was in bed laying down. I had my eyes closed, but I was still awake just thinking because that's what I do. But Katie, you were sound asleep, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that's kind of where we were. And I hear a knock on the door and I'm like, what? And at first I was like, that can't be our door. Like, who would be knocking on our door at 11, 12 o'clock at night? So I ignored it at first, but then someone kept banging on our door. So I was like, okay, let me go and see who this is at our door. And honestly, I should have been a little more careful. I like barely even looked at, but I opened the door and I was like, hi, like, thanks for waking me up. And the guy was like, oh, are you rolling things around in here? And I was like, what? Like, no, we're sleeping. And he's like, you're not rolling around suitcases? I was
Did he
like,
say suitcases?
I don't remember. He either said rolling things around or
I
rolling
think he
around
said
suitcases.
rolling around. He
Yeah,
said, "Are
rolling
you
around.
rolling around in here?"
I mean, I think maybe my head just jumped to suitcases when he said that.
He said
But
rolling around because I was barely coherent. Like I was fast asleep, but when you were talking to him, I heard rolling around.
yeah, he definitely said rolling around. I don't know if the word suitcases was in there. I mean,
I don't think
I
it is because
think,
I think we came to that conclusion the next day that he meant
okay.
suitcases.
Yeah.
Because in my head, I was half asleep. I said, "Oh my gosh, I feel horrible. I've been rolling around so loud in this bed
I think
trying to
you're right.
sleep." That's
I think,
exactly
yeah.
what I was thinking at 1 a.m. or
No, I
whatever time
think
it was.
you're 100% right. Yeah. So he was like,
Yes.
are you rolling around in here? And I was like, no, we're in bed. I mean, and then did he mention something about someone complaining? I think he may
Yes, he
have.
said there's been a noise complaint about that people are rolling around in here.
I
And I
like how
was like, wow.
you remember this better than I do and you were sleeping.
Well, because I was traumatized.
Yeah. See, I didn't really care that much. So I was like, no, no, we're sleeping. And he was like, oh, okay. Like he told me that there was a complaint and then that was really it. And then I went back to bed. And then did I tell you about it that night or the next morning?
The next morning, because I just fell asleep, you were just like, oh, we're rolling around. And I was like, oh, wow. And the next morning, we were like, rolling around.
Yeah. Like, am I that loud in bed?
That's literally what I thought he
Yeah.
meant. So, yeah.
He had to have meant suitcases, but also we weren't doing that. And then, so you're probably thinking to yourself right now, this sounds ridiculous. Why was Katie so mad? So,
Yes. So let me
Katie,
explain.
you want to get into the aftermath? Yeah.
Okay, first of all, we spent a lot of money on this trip and a lot of money on that hotel. When I spend money on things, I expect a certain level of professionalism. So for me, my priority in my travel is to be comfortable and safe. So when there's a man knocking on our door this late at night, claiming to be security, I don't like that for many different reasons. But when I started to think about it, I was like, wait, hold up. We were not rolling around. We were making literally no noise. We were sleeping. A man comes in, disrupts our sleep because there's been a noise complaint. So you're prioritizing somebody else's experience over our own. What makes them more special than us? Like, I'm not really understanding that. Then the issue was I went to tell the front desk about it because it's something that affected my experience as a paying customer. And they were so nonchalant. They did not care. They were like, oh, security came to your door. Okay. And I was like, we didn't do anything though. So what are you gonna do to fix this? Because I didn't like how a random man, like we're two women in Hawaii and this random man's in our hotel room in the middle of the night for no reason. I'm not understanding how this is okay. And she said,
Hmm.
okay, let me check the logs and like confirm. She checks the logs and she said, sorry, there was no man at your door that night. So then I'm like, okay, so either you're not logging the security or there was truly a random stranger who came into our hotel room. And I'm sorry, but this world is not the safest place in the whole world. Like, easily somebody could have posed as security, maybe have seen us and have tried to do something to us. Like that is not out of the realm of possibility. So then for you to not even log your security, but then to ruin my like sleep and like all these things, like I feel like that's what upset me. Like if she was like, "Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that happened to you. That's ridiculous. We'll speak to security. Here's this sort of accommodation. Again, we're so sorry." Like there was no accountability and it was just kind of like, "Yep, you got murdered," because that wasn't even our secure. Like she wasn't even like, "Oh, let me check the camera to make sure that this," like she just like kind of gaslit us and been like, "There was no man, there was nobody." So both of us just made up this man who literally woke me up and Julia was talking to. That's what I didn't like about the situation.
Yeah, I do agree. I think that that is a little scary that they didn't log who came to our room if that truly was a security person. And if it wasn't, then that's just terrifying that someone came to our door and was trying to potentially harm
And could
us.
easily get in and
Yeah,
do whatever to us, and there's no accountability.
exactly. And they weren't really willing to like look over the tapes. If it truly wasn't them, then they should have offered that if they had the ability to, which they probably do. I mean, they have tapes, I'm sure. I
They
mean, I don't,
should.
yeah, I would think so. So I
And it's
think
like, who complains about rolling around? Even if we were rolling suitcases, like if we just checked in,
it's a hotel.
that's a hotel, babe. Like, I don't
Hmm.
know where you stay in the Airbnb if you don't want to hear like obviously if you're partying, I get it. But if you're like hearing a suitcase roll around for like a few minutes, you're gonna call the I'm not understanding the situation. That was
Yeah,
very upsetting to me, that whole situation.
I do get where you're coming from. I have a slightly different stance in it. I guess I'm just like it does upset me, but at the same time, I think I just brush it off differently than you do. I'm not sure. Like,
Yeah,
because I
I
mean,
just
you're still ready to sue. I'm just,
I'm still ready because as a woman, like there's just been way too many stories of people getting, hurt in hotel rooms. I'm not gonna like get
yeah.
into specifics. And just the fact that my experience as a woman wasn't recognized and validated, that's what I don't like. So I think it's like a bigger issue of like how women have always tried to complain to police departments, this, at the other, and we're shot down. And I think
Hmm.
that's why I get so heated up about it. It's such a small thing in reality. But what if it wasn't? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what if something serious happened and like it was kind of like, oh well, whatever. That's what I don't
Yeah.
like.
What if he came back the next day and it could have been reported, but instead we're dead?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, like that's what I don't like. It was just kind of like there was no apology, no nothing of like our experience. So that's
I
what
do,
gets me upset.
I do get what you're saying actually now more than I did back then, because I think you
Hmm.
articulated it better now.
Thank you.
But you're welcome. You've grown.
Yes.
But she's much better with her words now. But yeah,
Yeah.
I do get what you're saying
Yeah.
about, yeah.
And
I
it's hard
mean,
because every person I tell this story to, they're like, well, why would you open the door? And it's like when security's banging on your door, I'm scared. What if something seriously happening to like evacuate? Like I didn't understand the situation.
yeah,
They're
you
like,
don't
you should
always
have called the
think.
front desk. It was one like it was so late. And like why do I have that's the thing also upsets me. Why do I have to go to all these great lengths to protect myself when that's security's job and they were just being kind of annoying. Like they weren't even
Yeah.
helping the situation.
Especially like in hindsight, it's really easy to say like, "Oh, you should have done this, you should have done that."
Yeah.
But when someone's standing there banging on your door and it's the middle of the night and you know it's probably security, you're gonna open it. I mean, you're just gonna open it,
Um,
see what's wrong, and then go back to bed. Like you're not like,
yeah.
"Oh, well, maybe I should call the front desk and see if it's security." I mean, is that the smart thing to do? Yeah, but you're just not always thinking like that in the moment.
No, for sure. It was like we were literally half asleep. And honestly, I think I get also heated because something similar happened to my brother where he was broken into and somebody was banging on his door and he had to like barricade himself in because he was like threatening to like hurt him. It was just some like person who broke into the apartment. So I just feel like these things are really scary. And like I said, just the lack of accountability and like the lack of like not caring about why I was scared when these things do happen and like serious consequences happen from them.
Yeah, you really are right about that. That could have been a bad situation if that person really didn't work for the hotel, which it kind of almost
Yeah.
sounds like that person didn't work for the hotel. I mean, who
Uh-huh.
knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very scary. And I mean, yeah, we paid a lot of money for that hotel, and it
Hmm.
was like practically right on the water. I mean, you expect to have a better experience.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of why I was upset. I think it's just I'm upset about the whole like women experience of it, of just like people not prioritizing our safety. And
Hmm.
it just happens too often with women, and they tell, whatever, whoever's in charge, and they just ignore us, and then something dangerous happens and it's like, oh, I didn't believe them, but yeah, they were right all along.
Yeah,
Like,
and I mean, maybe that wasn't the case in this situation, but it very easily could have been.
yeah, and I'm sure it's been the case in many other women's situations, and I feel like that's why I'm so upset too. It's just I feel
Yeah.
for everybody who something similar has happened to, and like nothing's been done, and it's been horrible. So,
I do get what you're saying. Yeah, I feel like I didn't fully get it like in the moment. I was just like, let's just drop it. Let's just have fun. But yeah, I do get why you were so upset.
yeah, it's just it shouldn't happen.
Hmm. Yeah, it
We
really
weren't
shouldn't.
doing anything,
It shouldn't. We were
this,
sleeping.
yeah, we were sleeping. But then it also brings us to the next thing that happened in that hotel,
Yeah.
which was chaotic. And I'm like, okay, get me out of this hotel right now.
Yeah, at this point we were already kind of fed up, and then this was just the icing on the cake. So, how do you want me to
You
start?
start it, yeah.
Okay. So we were checking out in the morning. This was when we were leaving. So we were heading to California at this point, and we had a flight to catch. We were just waiting in the lobby of the hotel for our Uber to come. And this hotel that we were staying in, it was very open concept, I guess you can call it. So it was just like open air almost with the outside. Am I explaining that right, Katie? Like it's just the
Yeah,
lobby was connected to the outdoors. So anyone
yeah,
could really come in and out. It wasn't so closed off.
yeah,
So this we're just sitting waiting for our Uber in front of the hotel, but also kind of in the lobby because, like I said, like the lobby is the outside. So, anyways, we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, this man runs past us like so fast with he's holding his shoes, and we're like, "That's weird." And maybe like 10, 15 seconds went by. And so like in my head, I was just like, okay, that was weird, but you know what? We've had a weird Hawaii experience. So I'm just like gonna just chalk it up to this trip just being weird.
yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like three police cars pull up, and then like all the police get out and they're chasing this man through the hotel. And I think he must have like stole something or done something to
Oh my
someone, or I
God.
I don't know. But we were just like, whoa.
And
Like
it was literally 6 a.m.
yes, it
Like,
was
this is too
really
early for
early.
this.
It was really early. And we were
Yeah.
like caught in the middle of a police chase in the middle of our lobby of the hotel. Like this should not be happening.
And this is when we were checking out. Bro, what if that was the security guy?
It could have
What if
been.
that
It
was
it
him?
wasn't
That
it. That wasn't him.
very well could be. I
No,
wonder.
it wasn't him.
Yeah, so
But it
that
could have
hotel
been.
was crazy. Also, we didn't really mention this very briefly. The elevator situation was catastrophic.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that necessarily falls under crazy travel stories, but it was really annoying. It was to the point where the line would go all the way down into the lobby, and we would be like trying to find these creative ways to get upstairs to avoid the line, but there was no steps, which is actually fire code. I
I
think
was about to
that's
say that's a fire hazard because we were going to say like we were on like maybe like the 10th floor. I would have walked up the flight of stairs. There wasn't really like it was very difficult to do that. So, and then the line went on for so long, like you'd literally be waiting on the elevator for 10 minutes. Get on the elevator. There's about 10, 12 people on the elevator, and it was COVID times. So that hotel was an absolute mess.
it was. And it's funny because that hotel came as a recommendation to me from my parents who stayed there and said it was the best hotel. And we had the weirdest experience there.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was our part of our Hawaii troubles, which we had more of, but those
Yeah.
are our big craziness complaints.
Yeah. Honestly, we will have a whole podcast on Hawaii. So just you wait. But
Yes.
we don't feel mentally prepared to talk about that yet.
I have to like, yeah. I'm not ready to relive the experience.
Still too fresh.
Yes.
But we'll definitely get into that. We're not going to leave you hanging for forever.
Yeah, because anytime everyone's like, "Oh, we're going to Hawaii," I'm like, "Good luck."
Yeah. I know my friend from work was going to Hawaii for her honeymoon, and I like sat her down. I'm like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And I shared a Word
Yeah.
document with her of like everything typed up of our experience, and I'm like, I just don't want you to have a bad honeymoon."
Honestly, I would consider Maui, but Honolulu for me is tainted.
Yeah, I think she went to Honolulu, but she also went to the Big Island and Kauai. And I mean,
Okay.
Kauai is fine. Big Island, I've never been. Kauai is very quiet. I mean, I'm sure travel disasters can happen there, but I mean, there's less of a chance. It's very quiet.
Yeah.
I mean, Honolulu is the city, so I mean, of course, things will happen there, and they did.
Yeah, they did. And
Remember?
we'll leave that for that time.
I feel like this just has to be brought up now because I mean, I don't know if it really fits into the Hawaii episode, but also I feel like it might fit into this. I don't know. It happened in Hawaii. We were walking down the street, and remember that man
Oh
dressed
my
like a
God.
butch grabbed you?
This is what I'm saying about this city, just like not caring about my experience. You know how scary it is just like walking down a city street as a woman and then being grabbed by a bush on top of my already fear?
Your
What?
your fear
I
of
just ran.
bushes?
I didn't even laugh at him. I was just like, bro, I'm over this.
Yeah, that was
No, not my fear
crazy.
of bush is my fear of getting mugged or like
Yeah, I know.
harassed on the city while walking on a sidewalk, and then you're literally grabbed me.
Well,
And then
now
everyone's
I'm
like,
sure
oh,
you have
ha
a
ha
fear of
ha.
bushes.
Yeah, now I have a fear. Now I'm scared any man is gonna like what if he was just like not okay? Like it's
Yeah,
I don't know.
like who does that? If that was so scary, and especially like Hawaii too, like you go there to relax, and then you're walking down the street and get grabbed by a bush. Like what?
Just like I don't get it. I'm sorry, I don't get it.
That was the weirdest trip.
That was it was like a fever dream.
It really was.
I feel like it didn't happen.
We're still in that hotel in LA, asleep in that bed, waiting for
That's
our layover.
scary.
Yeah, this has
Oh
all
my
been a
gosh.
dream.
Yeah. Gosh. That's crazy.
Yeah, that was a weird trip. Yep, like I said,
Yeah.
we'll get into that. I think that's enough on Hawaii for now, though.
Yeah.
We
God.
could
Even just talking about it gets me heated.
we could go on all day. I feel like this is turning into the Hawaii episode, so we got to get out of here.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to a better trip.
Yes,
Much better trip.
a much better trip, but a bad experience within a good trip.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Katie, do you want to start off this one?
Sure.
Or
So this was our New Orleans trip, and we had decided to do a nice hike at a nice little park, and we did not expect anything to harass us. But then we discovered a beautiful creature of God called a lubber.
I wouldn't call it a creature of God. Creature of
Creature of the
Satan.
yeah. Julia, do you want to describe what a lubber is?
Yeah, so a lubber is a giant grasshopper. And so I've actually looked up they're really big. And like when I'm saying giant grasshopper, I'm not just talking about like a big grasshopper. I'm talking about a grasshopper that's like easily the size of your hand. And I mean, I don't know, I have small hands, but I think you, Katie, your hands are like normal size. And
Yeah,
yeah, lover size.
yeah,
Right?
lubber
Yeah.
size. And
So
they were everywhere.
yes. And so they come in several colors. I've done a lot of lubber research since our trip, just because I just didn't understand why this happened to us. And I wanted to know more. This really upset me. And just this whole experience, because they were just so scary. And so there's actually two types of like color of lubbers. So there's like a tan type that almost like blend in with the grass, and there's a black type. And so the ones that were at the place we went to was the black type, which is even scarier because they didn't blend in at all. They like stuck out like sore thumbs, and we were walking on a what was it, like a wooden thing. So
Yeah,
they like stood out. You saw them like the second, and they were everywhere. So it was we couldn't avoid them.
yeah.
And remember, you were eating a sandwich in the
Oh
parking
my God.
lot.
I was so excited to eat this sandwich. It cost me like $18, and I just started eating it. And then all of a sudden, all these lubbers came out of nowhere. I was surrounded by about 10 lubbers who wanted my sandwich, and like giant bugs too in the air that were flying around. And I got so scared that I flew my sandwich across the whole parking lot, and I just ran. And it was just a waste of a sandwich, and I was very upset.
Honestly, yeah, they can have it at that point. That is so scary.
Yeah, but you know what's funny is lubbers, they don't really do too much. Like maybe if you scare them, they might spray you, but like it's not that serious. But
That's like if you're
just
really
the look
threatening
of
their
them,
life.
yes, but the look of them is just frightening. Like they will hop at you and they're huge and it's disgusting. But we were so hyper focused on these lovers that in this hike, we weren't even aware that they had huge actual poisonous spiders hanging on by the trees. Because our Uber driver on the way home was just like, yeah, lovers are annoying, but like thank God you survived those giant poisonous spiders who actually
Yeah.
shoot poison at you. And we were like, and there's also alligators.
Yes, remember we saw that man in the woods who disappeared.
Oh my
He
God.
he was so weird. There was like this man with like this walking stick, and he was like came out of nowhere.
Like the
And
Jurassic Park guy.
yeah, and he was like, "Did you see that alligator?" We were like, "What?" And it was like somewhere we just walked past too. And then he started showing us pictures on his phone. And he was like, "Yeah, there was this huge alligator there." And we were like, "Did we just like step over that alligator?" And like just because we were so scared of these lovers, we just
Yeah.
didn't even see it. Like,
That was just a crazy hike. And people were just walking around. Like, I remember it was all in the beginning by the trash can. And then these two ladies came out and we were like, oh, are there any of these bugs in there? They're like, no, not that we saw. And I'm telling you, we were
yeah,
swarmed by lovers in that hike.
yeah, completely swarmed. And then they were in the middle of the hiking trail, if you can call it that, I guess. And
The lover
they,
trail,
yeah, the lover trail. That's honestly what they should rename that
lover
place.
lane.
No joke. Yeah, everywhere. And
Yeah.
they they were blocking it. And so we couldn't even really get past without like running past them or like jumping over them pretty much.
Oh
And
my
so I
God.
remember like I would get past and I'd be like, Katie, come on. You would just stand there frozen. I'd be like, Katie, you have to
I
go.
couldn't
Like
move.
you have to get past this lover. And I was like, just close your eyes. And then sometimes like we would run past them and they'd jump and we'd be like, I'm just
It was like the worst
so
hiking.
scary.
I was like, if I
Yes.
get through this hike, I'll be so proud of myself, which I
We didn't
was.
we didn't get through it though.
I mean, we were
Turned
there for
back
like a solid 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
We were literally expecting to be there for hours, and then we were like, we gotta dip.
Yeah. Yeah. Luckily, our Uber driver on the way back was like really nice and just kind of listened to our story and let us get it all out. 'Cause,
Yeah, he
yeah,
understood.
I mean, he didn't really understand, but he like validated our feelings, I guess.
Yeah.
Like he let us talk. He was like almost like our therapist because he clearly didn't understand because he was saying to us, he was like, "Oh yeah, sometimes when I'm driving and I run them over, I feel bad." I'm like, "What? Don't feel bad. You're
Yeah,
doing a
it's like I have to
service."
swerve to avoid them, and I was like, sir. And then we said like, what was it? It was
Blubber on
like,
the rubber.
yeah. It's like if you're gonna have rubbers, make sure you run over lubber.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're disgusting and then we looked up videos online of people like eating them and like it was just weird.
Why did we do that? Yeah.
I think it made me feel better to know that like I don't know, people weren't scared of them, they could eat them. It was weird.
I feel like just seeing the pictures of people holding them though made me more scared. I'm just like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, people are wild, but make sure if you go to New Orleans or even Florida and you want to go hiking, make sure you do research to see if they're swarmed with lubbers because they will ruin your hike.
Yeah, we'll let you know honestly because like I live in Florida and we've been to that trail. So if you're thinking of going to either of those places, maybe just shoot me an email and I'll be able to
Yes.
tell you hopefully if it's
Yes.
safe because I have some experience hiking here. We have experience hiking there. So if you need
Yes.
advice on that, lubber advice, because I feel like the internet just doesn't get it.
Nobody gets it.
Nobody gets it.
Especially like we're from the city and we don't really know bugs like that. I guess Southern people are just different.
I know. I bet there's some like Floridians and Louisianans, whatever. I bet they're like listening to this now and they're like, what are these girls talking about? But
Yeah, we love, well, I don't even notice lovers or we love them. I don't
yeah,
know.
but
Can't
no,
relate.
nope,
I mean, they
cannot
literally
relate.
walk around the city with like snakes on their back and kiss alligators.
Oh yeah.
So,
So they don't even care.
yeah, they don't care.
I cared so much though.
Yeah, that kind of
Like,
ruined the morning.
yeah, and that hiking trail was kind of far too. And I remember we were so excited to go hiking. We were like, yeah, nice day. We're just gonna have a nice, relaxing hike.
Yeah,
But
no.
remember, we saw a lubber the day before. Remember, just one singular lubber.
Yes, I had
Yeah.
it on my TikTok.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was in that we went on an airboat ride and it was through the bayou. and we were waiting for our airboat, and we were just standing there looking down at them, and we saw like this big black thing moving inside one of them. And I was like, that can't be a bug. That is just too big. And it was like you could see it miles away. And I wasn't wearing my glasses or contacts, and I'm blind. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that on the podcast, but I have like the worst eyesight ever. And the fact that I was able to clearly see this thing is terrifying.
Yeah.
It was so scary. And
Oh
I
my
don't know,
God.
maybe that should have been our warning, but
Yeah,
lo
that
and
was,
behold, we went back.
I mean, that's kind of like what you expect when you travel to Louisiana. Like, really, what
Oh,
did we think?
I don't know. I just didn't think bugs could get that big. It just didn't seem like a thing.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, now you know.
so beware.
I mean, other than that, that was a really good trip. I think the lubbers just, I mean, something bad always has to happen, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
But also, we had another bug experience that trip, which we didn't have on our list to talk about today. But Katie, I think you know what I'm talking about. You seem confused actually, but you should know what I'm talking about.
Wait, can I think for a second? The bug
Yeah.
experience? I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
you
Yes,
should
that is a
know.
disaster.
You want to tell this since it affected you?
Oh my, the whole thing. I think that was like one of the worst moments of my life. I can't believe I forgot about this.
Yeah, right?
We were at a nice winery, first of all. I was dressed cute, had my hair cute, everything was cute. And all of a sudden, Julia stares at me and I'm like, what? And she's like, I don't want to scare you right now, but I can't move. But I want to let you know you have a cockroach in your hair. And I felt the panic of like paralysis. And I froze for a second, but then I started freaking out. And I think what scared me the most is I was going through my hair and shaking it, and then I touched it. But even when I was shaking it, it was not moving. And that's when I completely, at this nice ass place, I had to leave it, scream, shake my hair, and everyone was staring at me. And literally for a solid like 30 seconds, I was just shaking my hair and screaming outside of this winery.
Yeah, and it just was stuck to your hair. It would not come out. And
Oh my
I was
God.
watching and I was like, I wish I can help, but I'll die if I touch it.
And I was like, Julia, can you remove it? She's like, I'm sorry, but I cannot touch you. And I was like, oh my God, this
I could
is
not do it. Yeah, you were so stressed, and I was like stressed just watching it happen because I wanted to help, but I couldn't. And then
because
like
I
this
knew I
girl,
had to touch it to get it off of me. I didn't want
yeah.
to touch it.
And then this girl came outside and she's like, "Oh, is everything okay?" I'm like, "Does everything look okay?"
And then you were like, oh, she has a cockroach in your hair. And she's like, oh, we've all been there. Like, what?
Have we?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was our first day there too.
God, that was like, yeah, our first night. And
Yeah,
I
that
was
was a
like, this is,
weird introduction.
yeah. I mean, I love New Orleans. Probably won't go back though.
Because of the
Loved it
bugs.
though.
But I feel like it's also
Yeah.
like one of those things, like number one, because of the bugs, but also number two, like we just had such a great time that like, do
Yeah.
you want to ruin that?
I completely agree. I'm really big into like, let's not ruin the first time.
Yeah.
That's why I don't
Plus,
really even like leftovers, really.
yeah, I know.
I like the
Old
first time.
old chicken, just not good.
It's like it appreciated the first time.
Yeah, I agree. And especially because like I don't know, it's like funds are tight for me at least, and like I know like a lot of other people that are listening to this podcast too. And I mean like I hope they're not always tight for me, but I know like especially like if I'm gonna travel somewhere right now, I don't want to go somewhere I've already been, you know?
For sure. I
I
hate
want to
that.
spend my money on something like something new and exciting, not to have the same
Yes.
experience again.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was New Orleans, but we'll get more into that in another podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll definitely. Did we have our pod? No, we didn't.
No, we didn't.
We didn't. Yeah, we did our surprise vacation podcast, which was
Yeah.
New Orleans. So if you want to know more about that experience, you could listen to that podcast. It was one of our earlier podcasts, like maybe like,
It was like number two.
yeah, like two or three, something like that.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to scroll a little far back to find that one. But
Yes. But it's worth it.
yeah, I mean, we didn't discuss New Orleans too much in that one, just like we touched upon it, but we mostly discussed like our trip as a whole, like with the pack up and go planning process, the surprise
Yeah.
travel agency we used. So if you're interested about that, and we do plan on doing a New Orleans podcast eventually, especially because that's where our podcast was born. Remember, we came up with the idea there.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's in that little pub.
Yeah, in the little Irish pub.
That's so cute.
All the best ideas are born in an Irish pub.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the next
Okay.
disaster I literally know nothing about. So
Yeah, I actually didn't tell Katie anything about this one really. Maybe I did a long time ago, but it also happened to me before I knew Katie.
Okay.
So that might be why it like never really came up. Maybe it did. I don't know. Maybe I'll start telling it and you let me know if it sounds familiar, but I'm going to tell it anyway, obviously.
Hmm.
So it was when I went to Paris. I went to Paris in 2015. So this was, what was this, a year before I met you? I think I met you in 2016, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Because 2015, yeah, yeah.
it feels like a lot longer before I met you because it was in high school and we met in college. So those feel like very different times in my life. But yeah, I guess it was
Yeah.
only a year before I met you. And I had gone to Paris at school. So my school did a trip to London and Paris. We went to London first and then we went to Paris. And this was really it wasn't my first trip abroad, but it was my first trip without like my parents around. Like there was like a sense of independence, I guess. And then that being said, it was my first trip without my parents in a country that didn't speak English. So it was just scary in that sense. And I was with my group, I was with my friends, but it was just the language barrier was just a little scary. And so we were at the train station. I forgot where we were going, but we were going somewhere. And was this in London or Paris? Okay, it was in London or Paris. This was a really long time ago. I don't remember if it was in no, it was in Paris. It was 100% in Paris. Okay,
Mm.
because I remember I was like crying and everyone was speaking French. Okay. So it was definitely in Paris. I don't know why I had like a because we took the tube so much in London. So I was like, was this in London? But no, it was in Paris. So we
Mm.
were taking the train, like the underground train in Paris. I don't know what they call it there, maybe the metro. I don't know what they call it. Anyways, we were taking that and my whole group had gotten onto the train. And I don't know if you've ever been on trains in Europe or in France. I don't know if all European countries have this because I obviously haven't been to every single European country and definitely haven't been on trains in every single European country. But in Paris, the trains, what they do is the door is shut, but then they have this like plexiglass type barrier in front of them. So then it's almost like two things shut. And
Mm.
the doors shut like normal doors, but the plexiglass, whatever it is, I don't know, regular glass, I don't know what it is, but that shuts really hard. I know in New York you could like put your arm there and hold it open, but
Oh,
you can't do that in Paris. You put
okay.
your arm there, it gets chopped off.
That's insane. That's very
Yes,
dangerous.
it really is. I mean, I don't know why they do that. And so my whole group had gotten onto the train. I was the last one. And I'm, I like just almost make it. I have my arm out and the thing slams my arm. And like, I had to pull it back because I was going to like lose my arm.
Wow. That's because
And
usually in New York, when you do that, it completely opens because it knows that not everybody's on, and then it closes a little bit after.
yeah, no, they did not care.
That's messed up.
Yeah. And so, yep, doors were shut. And I just see all my friends looking at me through the window and they're all like, their mouths are like, their jaws are on the floor. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm stranded in Paris now.
Did you have their
And
phone numbers?
I, yeah, but like we didn't really have service. I mean, like you think it's like 2015 in Paris. So like we're abroad and like none of us really had service because it was, I mean, international service just isn't
Oh my God.
what it was today, what it is today. So
Yeah.
I couldn't really contact anyone.
Oh my
And
God.
I was like, what do I do? I don't even really know where they're going. I don't know the language. I know nothing. And so I'm just
That's so
standing,
scary.
yeah, I'm just standing in this Paris train station by myself, hysterically crying. And then I just have a very vivid memory of just like everyone around me just like speaking French. And I'm just like, what the hell is going on?
Oh my God.
And so I decided to just hop on the next train by myself
That's
because
very smart because I was gonna say, like, it's scary to make the next choice because then maybe they would come back for you. Or
yeah,
it's like you don't know the next step because you don't know what they're thinking that like their next plan is.
yeah, I had no idea. And I was so scared because I was like, I can't even tell anyone what's happening to me right now because number one, I don't know where they're going really. Like I had an idea, like if I saw it like on a list of stops, I could be like, okay, that's where we're going. But
Hmm.
I didn't know like the exact name of it. So I couldn't even tell anyone that. I don't speak a lick of French. Like I bonjour,
Yeah.
I don't even no, like that's all I know. That's all I ever knew. So
Yeah.
I wasn't getting through to anyone with that. So I was like, you know what? Let me just hop on the next train and hopefully like I'll just get off at the right stop and figure it out. I mean, they all know I'm missing, so they're not gonna run off. Like they'll probably
Yeah.
wait for me wherever they're going. So I was expecting I get on the next train and I'm like still crying. Everyone's looking at me like I'm weird, but you know what? Like they don't get it. So I'm on this train and I only get over like another stop or two. And then all of a sudden, the chaperone for the trip, he's like standing next to me. He like comes
Wait,
on the
what?
train. Yeah. And he's like, you did the right thing. I was like, what? Where'd you come from?
God?
His name was
What?
Mr. G. Maybe the G stood for God.
God, Mr. God. What?
Where
Wait,
did
where did
you
he
come
come
from?
from?
So he got on at like two stops later, and I guess I just didn't even see him come on because I think he knew that I got stranded, obviously, so he got off at like the next stop, and then he
Okay,
waited for my train to get there, and then got on. I guess he saw me through the window. I don't even know how he knew what car to get into.
that's amazing.
It still baffles me. That G must have stood for God, honestly.
Maybe when like maybe other people got off at that stop and he was like, okay, it was around here where those people were. So maybe I'll look in that specific car train because that might be the same exact one she uses and it'll stop here the next stop.
Yeah, like it probably lined up with that car train
Yeah,
in his train. And yeah,
yeah.
so I rode with him the rest of the way and I made it, but I don't know how I
Wow.
made it. I really don't because I just hopped on that train just thinking in my head like I don't know where I'm gonna wind up. I'm just in Paris alone.
Wow. Somebody was
Yeah,
looking out for you.
someone was. Mr. G
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Mr. God.
Wow.
Yeah.
That kind of reminds me, I mean, this is like not on our list or anything like that, but it's like similar energy to when you thought that you lost your luggage in Nashville and then that guy came out of nowhere
Yeah.
to assist you. We're like, God.
I don't know why that's not on our list, honestly. That should be.
Yeah, I
I mean,
completely like blocked that out.
we've
That
kind of
whole
discussed
trip
that
was
before.
like crazy travel. Yeah, we discussed it in the Nashville trip, but that whole trip was like very crazy.
Yeah, that whole trip honestly belongs in this podcast. But I mean, yeah, we discussed that trip. So if you want to know about the Nashville trip, go onto our Nashville Bachelorette podcast. That's actually our most popular episode.
I mean, people want to know about Nashville.
Yeah, that episode is always like miles ahead of all our other episodes with views.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow. I
yeah,
mean, it makes sense.
people
People want
like
to go
that.
there.
I know,
People love Nashville.
and they probably listen to it and they're like, "What?" Like
Yeah,
I'm
like
not going
everybody
there.
I know
Yeah.
who I talk to is like, I was obsessed. But I feel like that's also people who like to party.
Yeah. See, I was never obsessed. Even before going there, I
Mm.
kind of knew what we were getting ourselves into. I was never obsessed. Like I knew it was like fun,
I
but
mean, because you were there already. I had
yeah.
literally no idea what it was like.
Yeah, so you probably had like some idea in your head and then yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was fun. There was just a lot of craziness.
Yeah, just a lot of drama. Well, not drama. Not like everyone got along,
Like,
but
not from
like just yeah.
anybody, but it's just drama from like God, I guess.
Drama from God.
He just brought the drama.
Yeah, I don't know what that was all about.
Yeah, it was weird.
But I
But
mean,
yeah.
maybe that shows me that because I really did pick that location just because I figured it was easiest for everybody.
Mm.
And maybe that shows me to just not settle, if anything,
Which one would you have chosen again? I always forget like what your number one would have been.
Like honestly, if it was completely up to me, I probably would have done like a Caribbean island type thing. Like I always see people on the brides page on Facebook like talking about that, but I didn't even bring that up to you guys because I was like that would be like too much to ask. So
Yeah.
but well, like if I could go back, I would 100%. And then even like Texas, I was thinking maybe Austin because my cousin
Okay.
suggested that and she said it was really fun. And I was like, that would be really fun. Or Scottsdale, Arizona. A lot of people do these places. It would be really, really fun. But at the same time, it's a lot to ask of my girls. Like I don't want to make them do that.
I
And
mean, I feel like it would have been similar to Nashville. Like, I feel like we all would have done it.
yeah, I don't know. I guess I just picked Nashville because it was like halfway for me, halfway for you guys.
That's
And
true, yeah.
I just kind of left it at that. But you know
Yeah.
what? Like I think that experience taught me is to just like not settle.
Because what you could have done also is like you could have came to New York if you felt bad, and then we would have taken the port from New York to
Yeah.
a cruise at any time you would have felt comfortable. Like, you know what I mean?
A cruise never even crossed my mind. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It just didn't. And then like after the wedding, like when Donato and I went on our cruise and we saw all the bridal parties, we were like, oh, that would have been a good idea.
Yeah, and I also feel like it's really important. Like, I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, I just like don't even want to ask that of anybody. But I think people need to have their own boundaries. And it's like if they feel like it's too much, they could say no, because then
Yeah,
otherwise it's like you're unintentionally settling when in reality, honestly, probably all of us would have been like, yeah, sure, let's go. But I feel the same way as
exactly.
you all the time because I have a similar heart. But it's a good lesson. to
Yeah,
learn.
I was like, let me not inconvenience people, but by not inconveniencing people, I inconvenience myself.
Yeah. And I guess everybody, like, not that anybody was inconvenienced, but then
I
some
mean,
people really suffered.
a little bit, yeah. Luckily, I didn't need to suffer for my decision, but everyone else did. So
But I mean, you try, it is what it
yeah,
is.
I mean, yeah, hindsight's 2020, I guess.
I mean, I had fun.
Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, I think you had a little bit of fun.
I had a little fun. I mean, like it was
Yeah.
okay.
It's just
It's
not
just
perfect.
it's just not what you expect from your bachelorette party, you know?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
like it's not like I get a do-over. It's not like I'd be like, all right, girls, let's do over this bachelorette party like it's over, like I'm married. Like, I mean, it is what
I
it
mean, if you ever
is.
wanted to, I'm sure everybody would be down.
It's dramatic at this point.
I mean, if that's ever what you wanted, I know everybody would be supportive.
I mean, maybe I'd do like a friends slash girls trip, just as
Yeah.
like not as a bachelorette thing, obviously, because that's over, but maybe just as like a maybe a birthday thing one year.
Yeah, and you could just be like, this is kind of like my do-over. Like, we don't have to make it bachelorette themed, but just like a trip as a do-over kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
That'd be cute.
even just for my birthday, like not even mention do over, just be like, oh, if you want to come for
Okay.
my birthday, and if you can't, like whatever. Like
Yeah,
just yeah, because
that's
like
cute.
I feel like it's just so dramatic at this point to have another bachelorette party.
I mean, if I ever have a bachelorette party, we could do a joint bachelorette.
Are you still thinking of the cruise?
I'm thinking about it, but it's just with this new work schedule, I literally don't have off for like weeks at a time like I did with my current school.
Oh, you don't have the January off?
I don't think so. I really have to look
Really?
into it. If I did, 1,000,000%, I want to do that. If not, no. But if
Hmm.
I ever end up getting married at like a resort, potentially, I could ask girls to come earlier and we could do
Oh
something like
yeah.
fun during the day. So it could literally be like a bachelorette, but like the night before, which I think is kind of cute.
That is cute. Yeah.
Right? Like
I
a
know
little
like a lot of
sleepover.
resorts have like the spas and that can be
Yeah,
fun.
this one has the
Yeah.
spa, so that would be kind of cute, but we'll see. See the
Yeah, that
vibe.
can be really fun.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's
so
like
I
kind
guess
of
we'll see.
convenient because everyone's already there. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see. But anyway,
Right. Yeah, a little off topic there.
but okay, this brings us to the last event, which
The
is the
moment you've all
craziest
been
thing.
waiting for.
The craziest thing. Literally, God intervened to make sure we were not endangered.
I'd say this is
So
probably the
thank you.
craziest thing that's ever happened in my life. Would you say?
Me too.
Yeah,
It's hands down the craziest thing.
easily. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
honestly, I mean, knock on wood, but I just can't see anything crazier happening than this.
Yeah.
It's just so crazy.
Yeah.
So, should I start it off since I kind of planned it, I guess? And then
Yes.
since I planned our demise.
That sounds good.
Okay. So, I'm this was actually part of the Hawaii trip, believe it or not. So, how this trip worked is we stayed a night in LA, then we went to Hawaii, and then we
San
went,
Diego.
yeah, we went back to San Diego. We had a layover in San Francisco for like a hot minute, and then we went to San Diego. And the plan for San Diego was to just enjoy the city, but then also we were like, the wineries in Mexico, the best wineries that Mexico has are right across the border, and they have a lot of tours that are rated really well that like will get you safely to the wineries, have a nice day at the wineries, and then bring you back to your hotel. So I was like, there's no flaw in this plan. It'll go perfect.
Nothing bad can happen
Yeah,
in
nothing bad can happen
Mexico.
at all. Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It just, and the tour had such good reviews. Like they were just like swimming
Yeah.
in good reviews. So I was like, nothing bad can happen. Like this is just perfect.
Yeah.
So I felt so good about it. And I showed you everything and you agreed.
Hmm.
So then we decided to book the tour from San Diego. And what the tour would be is it would pick us up from Old Town San Diego and then bring us to 3 wineries in Mexico and one restaurant for food. And then it would bring us back to, did it bring us back to the hotel? Was it supposed to, or was it supposed to bring us back to Old Town maybe, which was near our
And then we would
hotel?
take an Uber from there.
Yeah, so either way, it was supposed to bring us there and back, Mexico, no drama, and that's how it was supposed to be. That's not what happened. So, how far do you want me to get into the story, Katie?
We should start when we left. When we got to the old town, they picked us up. Everything was good. And then we were on the way there and it was fine. But then when we get across the border, that's when everything started getting wonky.
Yeah. So we get across the border and everything honestly seems fine at first. We're like,
Hmm.
we pick up some other people at a resort that was in Mexico. So they were staying in Mexico, but they were going to be joining us on our tour. And they joined us on our bus. And so we pick them up and then we think everything's going okay. We think we're almost there. And then all of a sudden, our bus pulls, or I guess it's more like a van. I think there was like, well, how many of us were there in the van? Like 9 people, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's about 9 of us in the van. And we all of a sudden we pull off on the side of the road and we're like, okay, maybe this is it. At least that's what I was thinking in my head. I was thinking maybe this is it. Maybe like they just had to like, I don't know, just do something like I wasn't thinking anything bad. And
Okay.
then well, I mean, what were you thinking?
When we had to pull over on the side of the road.
Yeah, before
Uh,
we saw what was going on.
yeah, I think I probably had the same thought as you. I was just kind of like, what's going on around here? Like, what's happening?
Yeah, I honestly, I really didn't think anything of it until I saw the police cars. But even then, I was still kind of like, okay, maybe this was supposed to happen. I don't know. I wasn't really
Yeah,
like, it's when he popped his head in the van and told us to tell the police officers that we were his friends that I was like, oh,
yeah.
okay, something's not right here.
That's when I literally just started to freak out because he was like, yeah, like you guys all know each other, you're friends. Please don't tell them that this is a tourist company. And I was like, huh? Are we not allowed to be on this tourist company? And then that's when I got really scared.
Yeah, I remember you got especially scared when the police officer like popped his head in the van. And this is when he was asking us, like, do we know this guy? Like, are we friends with this guy? And I remember like one of the girls said no. Like she decided to not go with what the
Hmm.
tour guide told us to do. And she said, no, we're on a tour. And so I remember our tour guide was pretty pissed. And
I mean, I
then
don't know, understand. The officer obviously would know. We don't know anybody. There's such big age ranges. It's beyond obvious we're on a tour.
I know. I don't know what he was trying to pull. And I think lying probably would have made it worse. I mean, I wasn't going to be the one to
For
do
us,
it.
especially.
Yeah. I didn't want to be the one to lie or tell the truth. I just kind of wanted to, I don't know, just let it play out. But I mean,
And we
I didn't,
did.
yeah, and which we did. So another girl like really just took over. I think she wanted to be involved. So
Honestly, good
she,
for her though, because I would have just stayed silent.
mhm.
And she was just like, yeah, like this is a tour. What's going on?
Yeah. So she did wind up telling the truth to the police officer. And he he started like going off in Spanish and what he was saying basically was that the reason he's pulling us over because it's a tour and all that and the reason that he's taking our van away is because the this has happened before that there was a tour that went through the area and the van flipped over and all the people died and the tour guide didn't die but he like ran off and they like never found him.
Wow.
So Katie, I remember you heard some of this story and that's what you thought was happening or something like that. I remember you thought
I didn't hear that it flipped over, the guy ran away. I thought that they got murdered.
mhm,
That's honestly
okay.
why I started freaking out because I heard like tourists were dead. And honestly, like even today, many tourists are dying in Mexico when they go to these resorts. Like at a time, there's like 8 tourists dying in different locations. So then I started to get really scared because I'm like, I thought recently tourists died and it was like due to drugs or like, you know what I mean? So I was just like, I don't understand this story. But the fact that the police are getting involved, the fact that he asked us to lie, I was kind of like, what if this tour company is like up to something and like they're trafficking? Like you never know. Back to my story with the Hawaii, you just never know.
Yeah, so you had jumped to like that these tour people are bad people, but I kind of understood what was happening because I understood the Spanish that they were saying. So I
Yeah,
like they didn't have a special sticker on the license plate, which didn't make them like registered in Mexico as a tour company or whatnot. Or like maybe they didn't renew it. They either didn't have it or didn't renew it. And so then he was telling us this story and he's like, oh, I'm doing it for your own good. I'm taking your van away for your own good. So that way this can't happen to you. But in my head, I'm like,
God.
you're leaving us stranded in Mexico without a van. Like, how is that
Yeah.
for our own good?
I mean, I mean, I'm just saying, like, they're not really known for being like the most like caring towards people, government. So
Yeah.
it's not that. And I think they just were like, because the guy even was saying like they changed their policy like that day. Otherwise, we
Really?
would have changed. That's what he was saying. He's like, they literally changed it like that day. And that's why we didn't have everything together yet because we didn't think it was going to be this quick. And
Mm.
like, that's why the tour guide started freaking out. And he was like, oh my God, I can't believe it's like today. So I was kind of like, okay, like, I'll give him another chance.
Okay, I actually didn't know that. I thought like they were just
Yeah.
irresponsible. Okay.
No,
I
that's, he was
mean,
saying like it was very recent. They changed it.
okay. So I
Yeah.
guess I'll cut him a little slack there.
Because that
But
tour, the guy who's the owner of the company, he did seem pretty professional. He was stressed as hell, but like
yeah.
he did care and he did want to try, which is what I like to see, which I did not see at the other place. I like the accountability and I'm so sorry and oh my God, let me just do this. Like,
Oh yeah, he was
good.
really trying to make it up to us,
Yeah, and I
which
saw
we'll
that,
get
so I got
into.
less scared. Yeah.
Yeah. More things
It
happened.
gets worse.
But it gets this was not the
No, this is not it.
yeah, this was the peak of the events at all
Yes.
by any means.
Mhm.
So so our van has been taken away. But what happened at that point? How did we get to the first winery then?
So then he got the permits that he needed and he got a new van in and we went from one van to the other, which
Oh
was
wait, so
fine.
they like detained us there until they had the other van, right? Is that what
Yes,
happened?
and then they allowed us to go, but we were all still kind of scared because the van that they brought in had like a bash in the window and there was glass everywhere. And one of the girls was like, "What happened over here?" So that was really weird,
Oh yeah, he told
but
us
we were all
he
pretty
he
happy to
hit
be
some
there.
big bump because he
It was
actually
just
had to.
weird.
I know that was weird. He said he had to drive because he had to the tour operator had to drive back to San Diego, then get another van and then drive it down to us. So the police had us like held there for a few hours, right?
No, it was
No?
like half an hour. It was not a few, it was half an hour.
But then how'd he get the van there so fast? I'm like not really
It
remembering.
wasn't that far away, San
It wasn't?
Diego, from there. No,
I'd
it's
say
like,
it was
well,
like an
that's why we did
hour.
it. No, it was probably like
Really?
half an hour, 40 minutes. Yeah.
Really? I don't know.
But I think he was closer than that. I think he went, I don't know if he went all the way over there.
Oh wait,
It
I
wasn't
think he was
hours.
already there. Like he did the tour director didn't
Yes,
come,
he might
remember?
have been there.
Yeah, because remember we had that other guy and then the tour like the director of the whole company joined us after. I think
That's why he joined
yeah,
us.
that's what happened.
Yes,
Yeah,
for
he was
damage control.
already so he didn't have to drive back. He was already yeah, okay.
Yes,
So then yeah, so he drove it down, which honestly I think it was probably yeah, like maybe 45 minutes an hour maybe.
yeah,
Yeah.
at
And then
most.
I don't know, I think it felt like a long time because it was scary.
It was scary. That's why it felt like a long time. Because I
Yeah.
remember I was like, I'm so scared. Oh my God, I'm gonna be here all day. And then I remember it happened pretty quickly that we moved into the next van, and I was like, okay. And then they gave us the option, like, do you want to go back home? And I was like, I was the only one who was like, I want to go home. And
Yeah.
because the other girls behind us were like, no, like we want to go. I was like, okay, let's go. And then I
Yeah.
was like, fine.
It gets yeah, you were fun for then. Take it
Yeah.
until
But I
other
was just
events
nervous
unfolded.
that from the beginning they weren't on top of their permits, and it'll come up later that they really were not on top of their permits.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
so
scared me.
then yeah, like Katie was saying, the window in the new van was busted out. And what happened with that? Oh no, you know what happened? You know why we got that van so fast? Because there was another tour group in the area. Remember, there was like a private tour group for it was
Oh,
like someone's birthday or something. And then
yes.
I think he borrowed their van. So I think he came from their tour. They were already in Mexico. That's why it only took
They
like
were at the winery.
yeah, that's why it only took like 45 minutes
Yes.
because he just had to like get their van from them.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, so he didn't go all the way back to San Diego. Did he? I don't know.
No.
No,
I don't know.
I don't know. That's regardless, we were detained by the police for a brief period of time and we got the van eventually.
Yes.
So, moral of the story. So then we get the van, windows busted out. He said that on the drive to us from wherever he was coming from, he hit something in the road and the window like cracked in. And anyways, we get to the first winery, very nice there. No
Very
drama there.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get to we get to all the wineries, no issue, right?
It
Yeah.
was gorgeous, honestly. The views were beautiful. Our picture for the Runways and Byways travel podcast is us at this Mexican, like it was us overlooking. So
Yes, that picture is actually yeah, it's from
yeah.
the wine one of the wineries. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really
That's
beautiful,
funny. Yeah.
honestly. It
That
was a
picture
great experience for that part.
it really was. I think if everything went the way it was supposed to, it
Oh
would have
yeah,
been like the perfect day.
it would have been, but it
Yeah.
did not go the way it was supposed to.
Yeah. Yes, it did not. So we get through all the wineries, no problem. Everything's really beautiful. We have a perfect day other than the drama. And then we find out that the van is being taken away again. So, because of the
Yeah.
window. Because
Was it the window?
yes, they said it was because the window, they didn't want us driving around with the busted window. Again, the
But it's
government
more
being
safe for
so
us to.
to not have a van.
They're ridiculous.
Yeah. So our van is taken away again. We have no van, but the Mexican government lends us a van and says we can use it to get to Tijuana, but we can't use it to get across the border. But then the tour director tells us he knows a guy in Tijuana
Yes.
that can get us another
Oh
van.
my God.
So we were like, okay, like it seems like they have a plan. Let's just roll with it. I don't know. We have no choice. So
God.
do you want to start telling the
Yeah,
rest of
so he pulls over on the side of the road. It is like abandoned. There's nothing. And we're in Tijuana, which is the most dangerous city in the world.
yeah, it's the
So,
murder capital of the world.
yeah.
Look it up.
Yes, and so it was just us, like these Americans walking around to go to this junkyard. We get to the junkyard. There is no friend there. There's a bunch of vans and it's locked behind a gate. And he's like, "Oh, so, all right, we can't do that. Second option is now we're going to walk across the border. And mind you, by this time it is like 10:30 at night.
Yeah, it was really dark out. All the shady characters are out. Yeah.
It is the murder capital, and me and Julie are like, what is happening? So then we walk to where people walk across the border to get into America, and it's a sight. It really is. It is like there's just so much happening. Like it's so sad, it's so scary. There's people like without limbs, babies with them, begging for like pennies. It is horrifying. And we're just like waiting there on the line for like an hour, just watching all this with our Mexican wine in our bag.
Yeah.
Like we
Which
literally
we
just like the
bought too
wine
much of, by
carrier.
the way. We bought too much of it because there's a limit of how much wine you can get across the border with. And we had bought too much, not really like thinking, because we were like, you know what, we'll have the van, it's fine.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know why we thought that. That was really naive because why did we think we'd have a van? We obviously wouldn't have a van.
I mean, my wine was fine. You had too much. I had just one.
Yeah, I had two, and I think you were only supposed to bring like they had like a limit on the number of liters you can have, and like the liters worked out to like 1.5 bottles of wine or something, and I had two. So it was over. I mean, luckily they didn't give me a hard time, but like I'm standing there trying to cross the border with more than I even should have. So which
I
was
mean, it's kind of
obviously
ridiculous, honestly, if you think about it, because it's like okay, so you're gonna limit the amount of alcohol we could bring across the border, but yet look at this, look at your people, like
Mhm.
begging on the street, and we're just standing there, and it's like horrifying. But yet you have these random, oh, this permit and this and that and that. It's like maybe you should really focus on like helping your people.
I wonder if that's a US thing or a Mexico thing. I feel like it might have been a US thing.
Right. But I mean, I'm sure,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, with the permit thing, it was just like, okay, like, I don't know. It was very
Yeah.
scary.
Still, it was so sad and scary. Yeah.
It was horrifying.
Just the whole
And
experience. It's like we went for like a luxurious tour of the Mexican wineries, and instead we're standing online with like people begging.
it was a lot. Yeah, I mean, it was a lot for sure, but we made it across safely. Thank goodness. We each had a bottle of wine. And what I liked about the owner of the company is that he paid for all of our Ubers back to the hotel. He was extremely apologetic. So at least he took accountability and he tried to make sure we were safe. I feel bad. A lot of things were outside of his control and he was doing the best that he could. He was very stressed. So it's hard for me to blame him, even though it was a pretty traumatic experience.
I know. I think he was like trying so hard to make amends with us at the end. And yeah, because I don't think he was even going to, I think the whole tour was just going to drop us off in Old Town at the end, but he actually delivered us back to our hotels and made sure we were safe and paid for our cab. So, I mean, I did appreciate that he was actually trying.
Yeah, it's hard. Honestly, I appreciate that it's more accountability than even that hotel.
I
It,
know.
like I said, like we're in a kind of unsafe situation, and it's kind of like, okay, whatever. At least he knew that we were, and he really tried. So it's just that different level of effort that it makes like me feel very appreciative for.
Yeah, it did kind of help the day be better in a way because
Yeah.
even though everything happened, it was so tumultuous, but at the end we knew we were kind of being cared for in a sense. And we
Yeah.
weren't just like abandoned on the side of the road, even though we kind of were, but not really. So,
Yeah, honestly, being accommodating goes a long way with me. Like if you apologize and you're accommodating, we're good.
oh yeah, you love that.
I do love it. I
That's
do.
your thing.
It is my thing.
Comfort and accommodation. That's the key to
Yes,
Katie's heart.
it is. Take note, everybody.
Michael.
Yeah, if you're listening, if you listen this far in the podcast.
I know he could, yeah, you'd be married right now if he just listened
Yeah,
this far and he would know.
yeah, yeah, he would know. Okay, so does that pretty much wrap up our crazy travel stories?
Yeah, that's all we had on our list to talk about. I'm sure we have more that we're just going to think about right after this and be like, oh, we should have talked about that. Maybe we'll have a part
Yeah.
two down the
Yeah,
line.
I mean, hopefully we don't have a part two down the line
Uh,
if it's happening in the future. I hope I just have very calm travel experience.
I know I was talking about like things we may have forgotten, but at
Okay,
the same
hopefully, yeah.
time, I mean, something's bound to happen in the future if we keep traveling, which I definitely intend to. So,
Knock on wood.
but I hope that the rest of my travel experiences are good experiences and not crazy. But,
Yes.
these experiences taught me things about how I like to travel. And I don't know, I feel like I learned something from them. And it's just funny looking back.
Yeah, that's a good mindset.
It is. I mean, I'm glad they all happened in a weird way.
Yeah, I guess me too. I mean, the wine that I have in Mexico, it was such a traumatic experience that I told myself, you're not opening it until you get engaged. And this was like 3 or 4 years
Really?
ago. Yeah. So I still
No
haven't opened
way.
it because I'm planning it for when I get engaged. So
Wow. That is so
yeah,
funny.
yeah.
I think I gave one bottle to my mom and one bottle to my husband's parents. So I never had it, which is so sad.
Aw. And they don't even know the trauma that you had
I
to
know they
getting it.
don't even know that I went through that.
Now they know. Now they better have been appreciative when they drank that wine.
I know. Yeah, I don't think they were. But I
That's
mean,
so
I'm sure
funny.
they were appreciative, but they just didn't get it.
Didn't get it
They
fully.
they didn't
But
know that
when
I
I'm
almost had
drinking
to
that
die to
wine,
get that wine for them.
yeah. But yeah, so you know what? Each of these experiences, they teach you lessons and they help you to grow as a person and just help you going forward if you make it through, which we did, thank God. So
Yeah.
it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thankful for them in a weird way.
Yes, for sure.
All right. So are we
So
ready for our trivia? Is that all we have to say?
that's all I have to say. Just stay safe out there, friends. You know, traveling is fun, but you can get into some crazy experiences too. So stay safe.
Yes. And maybe we'll have a part two one day.
Yes.
Yes. All
Okay.
right.
So, trivia question is, the United Kingdom was the first country on which the US formally declared war. What was the second?
Okay. So in the beginning, I was thinking Mexico, and I
Hmm.
think I'm going to stick with that.
Okay. Why do you think it's Mexico?
Just because, okay, I know nothing about wars, but I remember something about the War of 1812, and I don't remember when the United States became a country either, like 17 something, but that's not that far away from the 1700s. And War of 1812, I think, was with Mexico. I don't know, but I'm going to go with that.
Okay. Well, you would be correct.
Really? Okay, because your
Yes.
reaction just kind of seemed like I wasn't correct.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes, it was Mexico. It was the Mexican-American War.
So it's not the War of 1812. Is that the same
Um,
thing?
let's look it up.
I don't know.
Mexican-American War. 1840. Oh, wait.
Oh,
1846. What is the War of but War of 1812, I think, was again with Britain.
really? That would be embarrassing. Oh, it was.
Yeah, United Kingdom.
Oh, that's embarrassing then. I mean, at least I was
So
right,
then
but
the
that's
next one was Mexico.
okay. I'm glad I was right, but that's kind of embarrassing.
I mean, you were on the right track. I mean, who really knows all these wars by heart? It's a lot.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've learned these
Yeah.
things. All right, I got
Yeah.
to give myself some credit.
Yes, for sure.
Why were we at war with Mexico? Was it like a territory thing?
Yeah, I think over Texas.
Oh, interesting.
Mexican American War. Um, Yeah, annexation of Texas,
Oh,
which Mexico still considered its territory. I thought that it said it still considers its territory. I was like, honey, no.
that would be so funny.
It's like,
I
I don't think
didn't think
so.
they got the memo.
No, they still considered it its territory, but then they annexed. So
I was gonna say, especially because Texans are like so American.
yeah, maybe that's why. Maybe they're like trying to really make it known.
Yeah, I guess so. They're like really trying to show Mexico.
Yeah, but
Interesting.
yeah. Yeah, I wanted to choose it because I wanted to do a country trivia question about Mexico, but nothing was really that interesting. But that answer had Mexico in it, so I was like, perfect way to transition the two.
Yeah, that was a good transition. I was like thinking in my head that that could have been the reason why you chose it, but then also at the same time it just seemed too easy. So I was like, it can't be Mexico. But it was.
Yeah, that was kind of the mind game I was playing on you, like a Inception, I guess, or like a.
It worked. I was thinking hard.
Good. You were thinking this whole podcast episode.
And I'll play the same mind games with you next week,
Okay, I'm excited. Well,
except
but
with
now
the
that I know
words.
the mind games are being played, I
Well,
might know how to play it.
no, you won't because I'll do like a reverse mind game. Like you'll think I'm playing that mind game, but I'm actually playing a different mind game.
That's confusing.
But now that I just told you that, now I have to play an even different mind game.
No, but then you could choose either A or B, and I still won't be sure.
That's true. Because
I
you'll
feel
be
like that's
like,
gonna be harder for you to make the question because then you're gonna be like, do I make it like this? Do I make it like this?
I know this actually puts way more pressure on me than it does
Yeah.
on you.
Like I'm not the one who has to make the question.
Oh God, what did I do?
That's so funny.
Well, I have like 2 weeks to think about a question now. Make it the perfect question to throw you off.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what our next episode's gonna be about, so I'm not even sure what the questions should surround, but we'll see. It's gonna be a good one.
Yes, I'm
And
excited.
you're gonna get it wrong.
Okay, well, if I do, that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, the points mean nothing, honestly. So just bragging rights, I
Just fun
guess.
and games, Julia.
Just fun again. You know me, I take everything so seriously, though.
All right. Anything else to add before we sign out?
Yes, I have my spiel.
Okay.
So I have it written down because, I still don't have it memorized. Here we go. Okay. So if you want to find us online, go to www.runwaysandbyways.com. You could sign up for my budget travel planner and newsletter by giving me your name and email address. You could also sign up for podcast notifications in the same way under the podcast tab. And you could also have us do travel planning for you, such as choose my destination, recommendations, and advice. And that's under the travel planning tab on runwaysandbyways.com. Now we have social media as well. We have Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Pinterest, all at Runways and Byways, or Twitter at Runways and Byways. And our podcast is available on Spotify, Apple, Anchor, YouTube, and Google Podcasts. And also, Anchor is Spotify for podcasters now. So I got to change that in my notes, actually. But I don't know. Same thing. Whatever.
Yes.
You know where to find us. If you're listening to us, you know where to find us. So that is all.
All right. Beautiful.
Okay, perfect. So we will see you on the next episode of the Runways and Byways Travel Podcast. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Whether your plane is taking off from the runway
Or you're driving down a byway
we'll be your guides
through it all.